As the film begins, the year 1850 is displayed. With this, a writer of sufficient renown appears. This author was not a local, but had traveled to meet someone. This author knocks on the door of a residence. However, the resident lady requests the author to return because she was considering him to be any customer. However, the author tells the woman about himself, that I am a writer and not a client. While opening the door, this woman calls the writer, who she instantly recognizes. This author had met her husband at this residence, and that woman's husband's name was Thomas, who was a senior citizen. This author had approached Thomas to inquire about a story. However, Thomas insults the author as soon as he meets him. "Are you out of your mind? Have you traveled a great distance to meet with me?" However, author disregards the wrath of Thomas. He tells Thomas that he has come to hear a story. In this instance, the author offers Thomas money. "I will give you all of my money if you tell that true story." Saying it, that writer also presents all payment before Thomas. But still, Thomas refuses this proposal, and he says to the writer that go and check the government history. You will get that story from there. But that writer says to Thomas, "I need to listen that real story by you. I don't need to check the government history." Hearing it, Thomas is infuriated on that writer, and he asks him to leave from there. Thomas also declares that I know nothing. Being worried, that writer begins to leave from there. But Thomas' wife does not let writer go from there. Thomas' wife pardons the writer because of her husband's attitude. Stepping in, Thomas' wife requests the writer to not mind on anything of her husband, because Thomas did not yet reveal anything about that story to anyone, including me. Here Thomas' wife requests her husband by going to him, that he may tell his story about this incident which they had faced. At last, Thomas consents to tell the story on the request of his wife. The other fact is this: they were very poor. They needed money, so Thomas had also agreed due to this need. Thomas calls that writer near him, and he says to him that I will tell you the story to that extent that will be bearable to you, because it was not a fictional story, but a tragedy. Thomas tells, "It was such an incident in my life which changed me." Now Thomas begins to tell the story. In 1820, it is the time when whale was hunted in the sea. Whale was hunted because its oil was rare. Mostly people used to trade of whale's oil. It was not an ordinary basis among them, but people were the lovers of whaling and extracting its oil. Even the people used to gamble on it, that which ship will get more oil among the sailing ships in the sea. A person has also shown, and his name is Owen. Owen used to serve a company. He was married and had a wife, and he was living happily with her. It was a whaling company for which Owen used to serve. It is obvious that this company was made for whale oil trading. Owen meet that company's owner. They tell Owen that they are sailing a very expensive ship in the sea for whaling. They inform Owen that we are going to send you hiring as a ship head. Knowing this, Owen gets confused because they had promised Owen that you will be the captain of the ship next time. But they took their words back because they were hiring a captain to someone else, and their expected captain's name was George. Actually, George was the son of the company's owner. The company wheeler again promises Owen that they will hire him as a captain next time. Owen's wages are increased because of his abilities, so Owen agrees with them, and he says to them that sign a contract that you will hire me as a captain next time. Then it is seen that Owen was preparing himself for sailing. Owen's wife was not satisfied on his departure. She says to Owen, "Promise me that you will return soon alive." Owen's wife also makes him put on a locket so Owen may remember his promise. Afterwards, the same boy George is shown, who was a captain. There was also George's father. His father says to him, "My son, go and return after getting triumph." Then all the whalers gather at a place. There's a crowd of city to send them off. There is a young boy named Thomas shown there. Yes, he's the young storyteller who has grown old now. Thomas, who was sailing in the sea for whaling first time. There was Owen's childhood friend in the ship along with other friends. After this, Captain George and Owen meet each other. Here, a conflict starts between them. George was putting a heavy hand over Owen as being captain, but Owen couldn't take any action as being subordinate because George was a captain. Then they sail and ship creates a problem. Sailing at a distance, it was seen his ship was entrapped at a place, but Owen resolves that risky situation using his skills. It is clear that Owen was able to do it because he was experienced, but Captain George was totally opposite. It means he was not skilled and capable, so he feels the twinge of envy witnessing such skills of Owen. So he takes revenge to Owen at the dining table at night. George degrades Owen too much that you are a layman and the son of a farmer. Owen was unable to tolerate this humiliation, but he could not take any action, so he leaves from there and he says to his companions that we will have to get early in the morning. It is noticed on that ship that laymen used to be avoided there. They were rather considered lower. Next day, George again commands Owen. Now Owen had to carry out George's command reluctantly. Then George witnesses a storm at the sea. He shares it with George that there is a storm at the sea ahead which is a threat for us, so we should retreat our ship. Disagreeing with Owen, George commands to sail the ship in the sea storm. Sailing into the sea storm, they are caught there. Owen is also shouting at the sea storm that ship must be retreated as soon as possible. But George was showing his waywardness till now, and he makes the ship sail into the sea storm. Doing so, there was a threat of their lives and shipwrecking. Anyhow, they come out of the storm. After this, George orders Owen that you will apologize to me before everyone, and we will sail our ship towards our island. It means that we will retreat without wailing. But Owen tries his best to explain George that look, try to understand the situation. We cannot return empty-handed because it is the matter of the lives of many people. They are waiting for us that we will return while taking the oil with us. And Owen convinces George somehow. So they began to sail ahead rather than to retreat. Then a time is shown after 3 months, and they sail to a part of the sea where the number of whales are present. They sail on their ship for whaling. Then Owen attacks a whale first of all. That whale tries its best to move aside. Later, it was ended. Afterwards, they pull that whale on the ship and they started to extract the oil of it. They have to send someone into the whale, so they send Thomas into the whale because of his small size. Many days are passed of hunting. Now they were not getting more hunting, and the biggest trouble was this: they had started to face the shortage of edible things. They stop on an island in the sea because of not sailing ahead. There they meet a captain who had also come there for whaling. They all meet that man and he tells the last story of his hunting. He tells that we had reached in the heart of the sea where they encountered the biggest whale of the sea, and that whale was the tallest and the biggest, which had been named Great Whale. But that great whale attacks their ship, which left their ship destroyed. It fractured the one hand and an arm of the captain, and his rest of the companion were also dead. But they don't take it seriously, thinking he's fabricating a story. So that captain leaves from there. But now they have become covetous, that they should sail to the part of the sea where the great whale is present. After this, they sail ahead to reach that part of the sea. Then the story takes place in the time exactly after 14 months. After a great voyage, they finally reach in the part of the sea, which was told to them by the captain, and the great whale was also there. They all sail there. Taking their weapons and boats, they are still sailing ahead. Then Owen's boat is attacked by someone consequently. They fall into the water from the boat. At the first time, they witness a great whale. There, this whale was the same according to the told story by the captain. Then the great whale began to leave, but Owen's companions were still seated in the boat. Getting a chance, they attack one of the whales. They are able to end the whale, but the great whale notices them for doing so, so it directly attacks the ship moving there. As a result, ship begins to sink. George was also observing this sitting in the boat. Leaving that whale there, he starts moving to his ship. George commands everyone to leave the ship soon because it was going to sink. They all embarked the boats now, and they get the edible things which they found by chance. In the following morning, it is seen that they were observing the sea map, but it had become a tough road to hold because they had again caught in a sea storm. In the sea storm, Owen's childhood friend is also badly injured. Now the time begins to pass, and Owen used to assist his wounded friend, while Owen's rest of the companions were just taking him as a burden, otherwise nothing else. Then the story takes place after 1 month, where their edible things had also been ended. They were nearly to die while facing the worst condition. Then their companion glimpses a land. Being satisfied, they begin to sail towards that land. Owen feels something when they are to reach the shore. It was not the other thing, but a great whale which damages their boats while striking them. Then they reach at the shore of the sea. With the speed of the ocean waves, and their condition was not worse than an animal. It means they were eating whatever they get for their survival. After reaching on the island, George asks his companion to ignite the fire. The reason behind it, as any ship in the sea will take them away seeing it. It was an unpopulated and barren island where they were staying. One day, they found out a cave there in search of the food. There were a number of skeletons of humans. It indicated that people got trapped there while coming, but no one came there for their help. So they were thinking as they will also be dead like these humans. Then they start to repair their damaged boats after deciding to leave some of the people among them planning to inhabit the island. And Owen's childhood friend was also among them. But Owen promises his friend while going that he will come back after bringing help for him. Then the story starts after 48 days. Those people's condition was worse, and they were hardly living in the starvation. Then it is shown that their one of the companion is dead. Then Owen's one of the friends was going to throw his dead body into the sea. Then they take a mysterious decision. They decide to eat his dead body rather than to throw it. He was heavy, said of burden for them. But they also had no choice except it. All gets worried because of this decision, but they had to do something for their survival because they were helpless as being caught in such a situation, so they eat the flesh of their friend. To the story of the current time is shown again where the aged Thomas comes on the scene, where Thomas was dejected as they had to eat the flesh of their own companion. But Owen's wife also reaches there. While crying, she was grieved after hearing the poignant story of her husband. Then she says to Thomas to reveal the further story. Then the time after 1 month is shown after that happening, where those people were staying in the sea and are being trapped. They were in the worst condition because of the starvation, and they play a game in pressure with one another in order to live, in which a loser was ended. Later, all companions used to eat his flesh collaboratively. One day, that Captain George loses his game. Giving a gun to his cousin, George asks him to fire it and kill him. But George's cousin kills himself rather than to fire a gun on him, and the rest of the people eat his flesh. One day again, they catch the sight of that great whale. Then Owen is about to attack that whale. But when Owen looks in that whale's eyes, he does not attack that whale, and he also leaves from there. Many days later, a ship is shown, and those people on the ship look at the boat of George, so they help him. When ship's captain observes it, that there are human skeletons, so he is left shocked. The boat of Owen and Thomas had separated from another boat. Owen and Thomas were in critical conditions and were dying. Then Owen notices a ship, and they call that ship for their support, and they get rid from this critical situation at last. They are brought into their house after some days, where the natives are surprised to see them because they had estimated that they would have been dead a long time ago. Owen's wife was also waiting for him. There, Owen's wife come to him, and they both meet at the same day. Owen and Thomas also meet with each other, where Owen gives his whale pinned to Thomas as his memory. After this, company management calls Owen and George in order to hear the story which they faced in the sea. Owen begins to leave from there because their story was surely not trusted. Owen says to George while going, "Perform your duty as a captain and reveal the truth to them." In the beginning, George tells a lie, then he reveals the truth later. But the members of the company tell the fabricated story. After this, Owen is shown. Now Owen had got a new life, so he begins his new life perfectly, and he also sent a boat for his friend on that island according to his promise. But when the boat reached there, it was too late, because Owen's friend was no more. Now here the story of Thomas is completed. Thomas asks after telling the story, "Will you reveal it before the world?" The writer replies yes to Thomas, "But I will give a new turn to the story," he says, "that will be based on the thorough happening." Afterwards, the time is shown after many months. It is shown here that the writer wrote the book and he became renowned, and that's how the movie ends.